Hi, my name's Jazz, and I'm from England, Birmingham, England. I booked an accessible room at Travelodge, Walthamstow, London. But when I arrived, I was told I couldn't have that room because people had booked in early, despite the fact I'd paid for it and booked it in advance. On the 2nd of June, my friend and I pre-booked a twin accessible room because I have mobility issues. And then, so we were going to a surprise party. We thought we've got a secure booking. On the 25th of June, an hour before, well, at 3 o'clock when we were supposed to book in, we get a telephone call from the manager who said our room was no longer available. And we said, well, we've booked it and we've paid for it. So why is it not available? It's a first come, first serve basis. I said, well, no, hang on. How would that happen? So he said, well, what we can do, how disabled am I? And my friend explained we had to have 2 beds and I manoeuvre on crutches, so we need enough room. He said, in that case, I can give you a superior family room, which we accepted. We arrived at the hotel at 4 o'clock, just after 4 o'clock, to be told the family superior room wasn't available. The only room they had was a double room and we'd have to share a bed. I had to explain, can't share a bed because of my condition. I'm very hypersensitive to touch, movement, everything like that. So we needed 2 beds. The reception staff was not very helpful. Well, we've only got a double room. We explained again, we pre-booked this. We booked it 3 weeks in advance. How can we not have a room? And all they kept saying is it's first come, first serve. I said, well, it doesn't say that on the confirmation. So how would we know that? He said, well, some people pay to book in early. And we argued. They called the manager. The manager, again, repeated first come, first serve, and we haven't got any other room. They did offer to relocate us to somewhere else in Greater London, because we were in London, we were in Walthamstow, but they couldn't tell us where they could relocate us until 5 o'clock. Well, we had to be at the surprise party for 5 o'clock, so we couldn't just hang around waiting to find out where we were going to go. It became quite heated. We repeated again why we needed the accessible room. In the meantime, other people are coming in, and a family came in behind us and were given a superior family room. And when we said, well, why didn't we get that room, as we were promised that room, we were told it's because they booked. And we were, well, we booked, so why can't we get our room? And they couldn't answer us. We were getting later and later for the party. It was getting really heated. My friend was getting really upset. And then very reluctantly, at 5:30, having been there for an hour and a half arguing with them, my friend said, look, I'll just sleep on the floor. This is ridiculous. We've come all this way. I'll just sleep on the floor. We don't want to miss this party. I said, it wasn't acceptable. It's just not right. You can't do this. We also asked, because outside the hotel there are 4 disabled parking spaces labelled Travelodge disabled parking, and they've all got a barrier in front of them. We asked them if we could have one of those parking spaces, and we were told no, it's for maintenance. And I thought, well, no. It says it's for Travelodge. Why can't we park there? Oh, yeah, they used to be for Travelodge, but we use them for maintenance now. But you can park in front of the garage, which is right next door. So that's where I parked all weekend. Unfortunately, another family behind us who managed to get a disabled room had to go and park in the local NCP. It cost us £27 for her to park. Just wasn't good enough. And the service we received, I mean, the reception staff one lady, young girl, Stacey, she was more than helpful. She was so kind. She did everything she could to try and help us. But the more experienced reception staff was not in the least bit helpful. Anyway, we agreed, because we didn't want to miss the party, we'd accept this room, my friend sleeping on the floor. We asked, okay, if she's going to sleep on the floor, can you bring us a mattress? Can you bring us a put-up bed or anything like that? No, we haven't got that. It's not available. Have you got a room with a sofa bed? No, we don't have that. But just so we didn't miss the party, and it was a mini reunion. We haven't seen each other in, nearly 30 years. We didn't want to be late, but we were. We agreed to have the room. My friend agreed to sleep on the floor. We asked for help to get a taxi, thrown business cards, kind of get it yourself. The only thing they offered us were, they wouldn't give us a refund so we could book somewhere else. They offered 2 complimentary breakfasts, and that was it. And you'd think that would be bad enough. So we went to the party, we had a good time. We came back, my friend slept on the floor. I was able to get into the shower, a small step up, and we went down for breakfast. As we approached the reception area, there's a different reception staff. And as I go through the reception area, she's staring at me, and I'm like, what's the issue? And she's just intently staring at me, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, we've complained. We're persona non gratis here. And then she said, where's your form? I said, what form? Your PEEPS form. I said, sorry, I don't know what you're talking about. She said, your personal your personal emergency evacuation program form, so that you know where the exits are, you know where the refuge areas are, so if there's a fire, you can get out. I said, I wasn't given one. I didn't know I had to fill one. She said, it's by law, you should have filled one in. I said, well, I didn't know, and I wasn't given one. She asked me who dealt with me. I explained the situation about the breakfast. She was absolutely furious. She said, there was an incident in the breakfast room a few minutes before we came down where a toaster caught fire. And she said, had that set off the alarm, she would not have known that I was in the building. So she wouldn't have come looking for me. She had 2 forms on her desk, and she highlighted the forms. And she said, I knew none of these forms were yours because one, I completed it and it's signed, and the other one was completed but never signed. And she said, but you don't look like a Grace. And I said, well, no, I'm not a Grace. We laughed, and she was mortified. So she's offered e-vouchers for Travelodge to my friend because she made the booking. And she advised us to complain because of the treatment we had. And I said, well, why can't we use the disabled parking spaces? She said, you can. I said, well, we were told very clearly last night we couldn't use them. And I said, I'm really not happy with my experience at all. It's really put a damper on our weekend. And, having to stand in the reception area and tell them over and over again why I can't share a bed, what my issues are with my mobility, is humiliating and embarrassing. I shouldn't have to do that. I ordered or booked, so I thought, an accessible room for a reason. You've got, they wouldn't admit they'd made a mistake and given out our room without checking what bookings they had. They said no. They were insistent it was first come first. I've never heard that with a hotel. And they kept saying they would refer us to another hotel, but couldn't tell us where. So, and we booked in a particular area for a reason, because it's close to where we wanted to be. So that is my experience, not a great one. I haven't always been disabled. So I'm learning the barriers that disabled people are having to face just to get things that everybody else takes for granted. So if you book an accessible room and you've paid for it, you expect that you will get that accessible room, that you're not going to have to fight with somebody else because they got there early or they paid extra to book in earlier. But it doesn't tell you on there, on the confirmation form, it says you can book in for a fee, but it doesn't tell you. You better get in there quick because somebody else who's disabled might get that room before you. You think you've booked it, so it's guaranteed. I mean, they're not going to lose money if you don't turn up because that room's there and they've been paid. We've already paid for it. So whether we turned up or not, they were covered. But for them to give it out to me, I couldn't then just go into a different room. We couldn't go to a different hotel. Everything has to be planned out. And when you're disabled, it's harder. It's a bigger struggle. You don't want to have to fight. We fight for most things anyway, but to fight for that as well, we just want the same opportunities as able-bodied people. And if you give out a normal hotel room and it's first come, first serve, that's one thing. Not great. You've paid your money, you expect to get a room, but they tell you can't have that room, blah, blah. That's bad enough. But when you're disabled and you're told that, it's a real battle. And these things they're very stressful and they're very wearing on you when you're disabled. And I just thought, no, other people need to know about it. It's not good. And it's not fair. We should have been able to get a full refund, not vouchers. My friend should have got her money back. She's got vouchers. I don't think she's very keen on having to use Travelodge again. I certainly won't be using Travelodge again because if they can't guarantee that I get the room that I've paid and booked for, then I won't use them. I will go somewhere else. And I think they owe us a big apology, especially as the reception staff called us old. So it was just very rude. I mean, as I say, the other reception staff, the young lady, she tried everything. She tried really hard to help us. But she said, she hadn't been there very long. She didn't know exactly how things worked. And she was very embarrassed. And, I'm just not very, very happy. And to think then, after all that, we can't get our room, that they then don't actually take my disability seriously enough to make sure the proper precautions are in place, to make sure that I'm safe whilst I'm in that building. Because they haven't done their paperwork and they haven't done what they're supposed to do.